All right, thanks for being here with me today, everybody. I have two special guests, Danny and Sarah from Rem Alternis, and they are going to talk to me today about a project that is hitting Kickstarter on February 2nd, 2021, called Coddlesworth's Clockwork Circus. Do I have that right, Danny?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to pump the heck out of this because I love Rem Alternis. You guys have been amazing to me personally, Fragging Unicorns, and great friends of the SCN. So Danny and Sarah, either or, you can choose who goes first. Can you tell me a little bit about this project? I know it's a graphic series, so explain what a graphic series is, and then explain to me what you're hoping to get in the Kickstarter.
Yeah, graphic series it just means it's like a comic book series, right? So we're gonna release issue 1. It's gonna be 28 pages, and then later we'll do an issue 2, issue 3, and it'll be a serialized story until we come to the end of the story arc. And that's as opposed to a graphic novel or something where it's just one release really thick.
Sure. Do you plan on releasing them physically or just electronic?
Yes, in print. So the Kickstarter is to get that in print and to get a physical copy of the book and the artwork out to people, and to help build interest as we go forward, and to just really drive the ability to continue to produce the comics as they go.
Okay, one issue at a time, or are you funding the whole entire graphic novel?
One issue at a time. Cool. That said, and I don't know, maybe maybe this isn't the safest thing to say, because then people might be like, well, why do I have to? But this is happening whether people want to jump in or not. Like, this is a story I want to tell, and so if it's at my pace, like the pace that I funded at, then it'll take longer. But if I can get people, if people like it and they want to get in on it and help me create the world and everything else, it'll just be that much faster.
Awesome. So tell me about what the comic is actually about. Coddlesworth's Clockwork Circus. That's a mouthful to say, but it looks like a fun concept. I've seen the first issue, or the rough draft of the first issue, and I'm enjoying it immensely. But tell everybody else sort of what it's about.
Yeah, so it's at the core, it's a steampunk setting. So that's where the name comes from. Steampunk tends to take a lot of those sort of older style sort of names and kind of puts them together. Gertrude and so we have the lady Coddlesworth, and she has a Clockwork Circus, which travels around the world, from place to place where they do their circus thing. And the story starts off. It's not focused on them to start. It's focused on these two halflings. And the two halflings are coming from a continent that has just sort of, it's like the reappearance of Atlantis, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's just a regular sort of steampunk world. There's been this section of the world that no one's ever been able to go to. It's been surrounded by a storm, and then one day the storm it fades away. No one knows why. There's a continent under there, and people do what people do. What's that? And they all go over there. And so these two halflings, they want to see what's out in the world, and so they travel out. And then in the first issue of the series, they are going to, strangers in a strange land. They're walking around, they're trying to figure it out, and they meet up with the circus, and they have some special abilities, and they also have an interesting story. And the circus actually has an interesting story thing going on with them too, and so they kind of just come together, and the two halflings kind of join their circus family, and that's the rest of the series is going to follow that. And as we follow that story, we're going to delve into the mysteries of why there was no magic, what was going on with this continent, why was it shrouded by the storm, and what does that mean for the world on a higher scale.
So steampunk and magic and circus folk is what I'm gaining.
And yes, and clockwork robots and stuff, and yeah. and magic and
Yeah, I'd say just for the sound bites, kind of how I think of it is Galifis is this steampunk world. There's a continent that has been hidden for however long under this tempest, and as soon as that tempest dissipates, there's the discovery of that continent, but also because maybe of that storm, magic has come into the steampunk world
Hmm.
where it hasn't been. You've got your fantasy, you've got your steampunk, you've got these different races that we're familiar with, dragonborn, halflings, and stuff like that. But now elves are in the first time, and so there's just kind of this expansion and this different look at fantasy and mixing in that steam.
Nice. It seems like a something that the fans of our show would be totally into, right? It's like
yeah,
Shadowrun adjacent almost. So that's
right,
pretty
yeah.
cool. Okay, so what kind of things have influenced the design and development? Like, what got you to the point where you're like, you know what I want to do is I want to make a steampunk magic comic book.
Right. So, following the rule of there's nothing new, there's just new ways to put everything together. Um, so I've always been intrigued by the steampunk sort of aesthetic. It is one that I'm really drawn to. I like the style. I like the ideas of sort of like trying to put together tech, but using stuff from our past to kind of make this futuristic thing happen.
Sure.
Um, and so, I have that. I have stories that I played in the past, Dungeons and Dragons stuff, other setting, and, so, like, the halflings and some of the story of this continent come from, like, some of those older stories that I've played in before, and then, I mean, I write for Shadowrun, so, the idea of, like, a a world where magic doesn't exist, but then kind of coming in, and what does that do to the world?
Right.
That's a very interesting story, period. I mean, it just is. I mean, what if magic came into our world and suddenly I could snap my fingers and, shoot lightning or something? That would,
We're all
that's an
waiting.
interesting story. Yeah.
We're all waiting for that day.
We're all waiting for
So
the sixth world.
so I noticed right away when you sent me the preview, I knew right away who was doing the art because it's Slobodan Jovanovic, and he's done a lot of stuff for me, and I love him. So who's doing the writing?
The writing is all me right now. And I say right now, if there's folks that uh come in and have good ideas and everything, I'm open to collaboration. The world is still being built. I'm spending a lot of time on that and putting everything together. And so yeah, I'm down for any sort of collaboration with folks who want to come in and assist. But right now it's me doing all the writing. And then we haven't done color yet, but I have done a couple of proof of concepts for color with the colorist Kurt Russell, but not that Kurt Russell. Uh, and they've looked really good. So going forward, unless something changes, probably when we go to color, that is going to we'll probably use Kurt Russell as our colorist.
One of the things that
Nice.
really excited me about Danny's ideas and everything is that as he was putting this world together and as he started actually mapping it out, which he's paid a cartographer to map out this world,
Mm,
he realizes and gets more excited because he realizes how big he made this world. It's actually larger than ours in terms of Earth's circumference and and everything like that goes with it. So I think as Danny started realizing that, he started saying, "Oh gosh, all of this world is up to me to create." And so engaging our community in Rem Alternis and other spaces to be able to say, "Come on in and like, what is the lore of the elves? Where do they come from? Who are they? Who do they worship? What's their pantheon look like? What is there's just so much to create when you're and
yeah.
so I love Danny's willingness to open that up and not be the only one that's in on it, but say, "Hey, come create this with me and let's build this together." So you're not only, by supporting this Kickstarter, you're not only getting a first issue of a graphic novel, but if you really are into the genre and the world that we're creating, then you can be part of that and you can help grow the well.
And so since the world is being created like this, right? And we're probably not going to see all of it in this comic book, right? Comic books are pretty limited in what you're able to see. Are you going to have plans for like expansion into other media? Like, for example, I was going to mention this later, but I know that on Sundays you're doing an actual play, like a D&D 5th edition actual play. Remind me what it's called. It's called
Like Clockwork.
Like Clockwork, yes. And that's, I think, 7 to 10 Central, I believe. With another one of my favorite people, Randy
Alvarenga.
Thank you. But yeah, he's awesome, and you guys are doing that stream. So do you have plans to expand this beyond the comic, or is the comic basically just going to be the focus from here on out?
Yeah, so I mean, my storytelling background is in role-playing games. It always has been. 9 years old is when I got the red box, and when your peers are all 9 years old, you got the red box.
Yeah,
you're the only one with the red box, and so you're the one who's going to be telling the really crazy and silly stories that we told. But yeah, so and that's that's 30 plus years ago, and all of my storytelling is rooted in Dungeons and Dragons and world building, and how often there's so many worlds out there that we see in television and movies, and we think, man, that would be a great setting for Dungeons and Dragons. That would be a great setting for GURPS. That would be, and so I wanted to make sure that this was accessible to people. And so the live stream is a parallel story to the comic. So they're happening at about the same time, and the things that are happening in both of those stories are going to impact the other in certain ways, and also are both going to kind of come to this place at the end where it kind of just explains, okay, this is what was going on and this is why. And then everything that we're doing is going to be at the end. I want to package it all together and make it available as a as an open source gaming license supplement for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
Yeah, so planning ahead so that if people love the comic, they can play in the world.
Yes, and so one of our stretch goals for the comic is going to be getting everything together so that I can give you the comic and I can give you everything you need to play in that setting for that issue of the comic, the city Mirkodashta.
Fantastic. I was going to ask about that. Are there any stretch goals that you want to mention?
The first stretch goal is color. So I want to get the story out. I want to get rolling. I want to get working. But it does cost money, and so hopefully, if we can get enough people to get the comic and then get enough interest to go to the next level, we can get it in color. If not, then we'll eventually, when we do an omnibus or whatever, we'll make sure we get color. Color's going to happen, but again, I'd like to get color out as fast as possible. We have the gaming accessories that we were talking about, and so that's all the tokens for major characters and guards and stuff like that. Map of the city, the major locations, few extra monsters and stuff that might show up that are for the world. And yeah, I said tokens already for everything. We've got this brilliant guy who does the tokens. His name is Bernardo, and they're gorgeous. They're big when he sends them so that they can have all the detail, and I'm just blown away every time. So I'm really excited to have him working with us on this as well. Yeah. And what else do we have, Sarah?
So we also have a couple of collectible items. So depending on how much this takes off, and like really commemorating that this is something that we're building together as we're thinking about stretch goals, like an alternate special edition cover, trading cards, things that you can collect for that. But also we want to watch like what is it that people are most excited about and save that for higher levels. So if people, are excited about the graphic series, but they're really taking to like Clockwork, then maybe we'll do maps and tokens and a pack and stuff like that for the like Clockwork characters, or maybe we'll do little short story prequels for each of those characters, or maybe so we really want to see where the interest is and what part of Caliphus they really are falling in love with, and make that accessible to audiences.
Fantastic. I know that I will be backing, and I'm excited because I love everybody involved. There you have it, backed by Rem Alternis. We are going to see the Kickstarter launch for Coddlesworth's Clockwork Circus, a graphic series, and that's going to be February 2nd, 2021. And in the meantime, if you want to check out more in that universe and kind of see where this is headed, you can go to Like Clockwork, which is on Sundays, 7 to 10 Central Time, and you can get all of your 5e D&D steampunk goodness. So, anything else? Any last parting shots?
Join the mailing list to make sure that you get all the updates on what's coming with Coddlesworth and with Like Clockwork and any of the other projects that go ahead with.
I was just gonna say, hey, come check us out. On Sunday nights, we're also about a 5-day turnaround to get it onto YouTube, I think. So you can catch up, and then there's only one to catch up on, and then watch tonight, or I guess tonight won't be tonight when you see this. But
tonight will be tonight, but it's exactly the same time that we'll be going live.
All right. Well, so
it will be up on YouTube though, if you want to see it.
Yes, it'll be up on YouTube, and it'll always be up on YouTube. And if you watch it YouTube instead of Twitch, hey, we love it. That's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Danny and Sarah, thank you guys so much for being here on the show, and I will be backing, and I hope everybody else does too. Let's see this thing get funded first day.
Awesome. Thank you
That'd be
so
great.
much, Opti.
All right.
Thanks
Take care.
so much.
Bye.